What's the greatest finisher in WWE history? Well, today we're going to find out because I'm going to put 64 WWE finishers into a single elimination bracket to figure out what is the greatest finisher in WWE history. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and yeah, we're going to give away another $50 Amazon gift card to somebody in the comments. I'm going to give the instructions as to how to enter at some point in this video. All right, here we go. We're starting off hot. We have the Batista Bomb versus the Perfect Plex. And in terms of just how devastating it is, even though the Perfect Plex is a thing of beauty, I'm going to take the Batista Bomb. Next, we have Chris Benoit's Crippler Crossface and Chris Jericho's Lion Salt. Earlier on in his career, the Lion Salt was Chris Jericho's finisher, but no, I was never really sold on the Lion Salt. I'm going to take Chris Benoit's Crippler Crossface. Next, we have John Cena's FU or Attitude Adjustment versus Dolph Ziggler's Zigzag. I never loved the Zigzag. I always thought it was a very weak finisher for somebody as good as Dolph Ziggler, so I'm going to be taking the Attitude Adjustment or the FU. We have Chris Jericho again with the Code Breaker, which was his finisher later on in his WWE career, versus the Pile Driver from Owen Hart. I'm going to be taking the Pile Driver from Owen Hart in this one. Next, we have Goldberg's Jackhammer versus Cody Rhodes' Pedigree. Also, this is not a pedigree, so I don't even know why it's saying it's a pedigree. But even if it was Cody's pedigree, I still wouldn't take it because it's not even really a finisher. He uses it as a signature these days. And Goldberg's Jackhammer, even though really at the end of the day, it's just a vertical suplex, he makes it look extra awesome. I'm taking Goldberg's Jackhammer. Next, we have Randy Orton's RKO versus the Ultimate Warrior's Gorilla Press. Come on, it's not even close. All right, we're taking RKO from out of nowhere. All right, well, this is a tough choice. We have the Pedigree from Seth Rollins, who used it for a couple years as his finisher, and nobody liked the fact that he used the Pedigree, versus Goldust's Shattered Dreams. Look, I'm taking Goldust Shattered Dreams, baby. Next, we have Kevin Owens' Pop-Up Powerbomb versus Roman Reigns' Superman Punch. You know what? I think I should disqualify Roman Reigns from this one because that's not his finisher. So I am going to be taking, and I think I would have taken it anyway, the Pop-Up Powerbomb. Next, we have Paige's Rampage versus Chris Jericho's Walls of Jericho. And baby, you know I'm taking the walls. Break the walls down. Okay, this one's actually really difficult. We have Evan Bourne's beautiful, gorgeous shooting star press versus Goldberg's spear. And look at this spear, how he's absolutely turning Dolph Ziggler inside out. I am taking the spear, baby. Next, we have Kane's Chokeslam versus Macho Man's Top Rope Elbow Drop. And look, I love that elbow drop, baby. I'm taking the Macho Man's elbow drop here. Next, we have Hulk Hogan's Atomic Leg Drop versus AJ Styles Clash. Look, I know the leg drop is incredibly iconic, but it's a shit finisher. We all know that it is. I'm taking the Styles Clash here. Next, we have Cesaro's Neutralizer versus Zack Ryder's Rough Rider. And I was a huge fan of the Rough Rider. I'm taking the Rough Rider here. Next, we have Santino's Cobra versus the Big Show's Chokeslam. Look, if I wanted the meme here, I'd take Santino, but Big Show's Chokeslam is just so timeless and so good. I'm taking the Chokeslam. Next up, we have the Undertaker's Last Ride versus Rhea Ripley's Riptide. Yeah, I like the Riptide, but the Last Ride is arguably the scariest finisher ever, okay? Like, it's absolutely terrifying from how high up you're falling. I am taking the Undertaker's Last Ride. Next, we have Eddie Guerrero's Frog Splash versus Randy Orton's Punt. Look, Eddie has a beautiful Frog Splash, but when a finishing move is so devastating and dangerous that they have to ban it, okay? All right, it's tough to not pick that. I'm taking Randy Orton's devastating, disgusting punt. All right, now we are in the next round. We are in the round of 16, and we are starting off with the Battle of Randy Orton. We have the Randy Orton Punt versus the Randy Orton RKO. Look, like, these are both fantastic finishers, and I think if they didn't face off against each other in this round, that they could have gone really far into this tournament together. At the end of the day, like, I can't not pick the RKO here, as much as I absolutely adore the punt. Man, Bald Randy Orton was something to behold. He was the greatest menace next to Durag Vince, of course. I am taking the RKO here, though. All right, in the next matchup of the round of 16, we have John Cena's FU versus Owen Hart's Pile Driver. Look, man, I got the John Cena plushie right there. I cannot pick the attitude adjustment / the FU. I'm taking the FU here. Ooh, okay. I've got myself a tough choice here. I've got the Batista bomb, one of the greatest sit-down power bombs ever, versus Goldberg's spear. And man, Goldberg's spear is just on another level. It's the best spear to ever grace wrestling, honestly. Like, it's the greatest spear ever. I'm taking Goldberg's spear, but it's close. It's close. Goldberg's spear is moving on. All right, next up, we have Kevin Owens's pop-up powerbomb versus Break the Walls Down, Chris Jericho's Walls of Jericho. Again, both of these are fantastic. I wish Kevin Owens would go back to the pop-up powerbomb. I just don't think the stunner does it for me. It's a better finisher, Kevin. Please go back to the pop-up powerbomb. But the walls, man. The Walls of Jericho is just one of the most iconic finishers of all time, man. Even though in AEW, it's kind of like a nothing move these days. Like, no one taps out to it. Look, this thing is just too legendary. I'm taking the Walls here, baby. We then have Chris Benoit's Crippler Crossface versus Goldberg's Jackhammer. And I think here, I am going to take Chris Benoit. I do love the jackhammer, but this crossface it just looks painful. I don't know how this doesn't actually hurt the WWE superstar that's in it. It just looks devastating. I'm taking the crossface. Next, we have Goldust's Shattered Dreams versus the Top Rope Elbow Drop. Oh, dude, I swear to God, I'm not memeing. I'm not trying to meme here. It's just that Shattered Dreams is getting easier matchups. I'm taking the Shattered Dreams. I just am. Next, we have Big Show's Chokeslam versus the Rough Rider. As much as I do love the Rough Rider, that Chokeslam to me, like I said earlier before, is timeless. And it's just scary taking a Chokeslam from a guy that's like over 7 feet tall. I'm taking the chokeslam here, folks. Next, it's Undertaker's Last Ride versus the Styles Clash. And I think this is where the Styles Clash loses because, again, the Last Ride is one of the scariest finishers I've ever seen. I'm taking the Last Ride here. And now we're on to the next round, the round of 8. There are 8 finishers left to go. So here we go. Next, we have Big Show's Chokeslam versus the Shattered Dreams. And I think this is where the Cinderella run ends. I'm sorry, Shattered Dreams. You really came in as a 16 seed and went deep into this tournament, but you finally lose to one of the big boys. Literally, you lose to the chokeslam from the Big Show. Next, we have the RKO versus one of the most iconic submission finishers of all time, the Walls of Jericho. But I think this is where the run for the Walls of Jericho ends as he runs into one of the greatest finishers of all time. I'm taking the RKO here. Next, we have John Cena's FU versus Goldberg's Spear. And I'm sorry, John, you can't win this one. Look, I gave you a free victory on the last one, even though I think arguably you could have lost that one. But I'm taking the Goldberg Spear because, again, every time I look at it, as I just see poor Dolph Ziggler get absolutely chopped in half, it's tough to not take the spear. The spear is moving on. And in the final matchup of the final 8, we have Chris Benoit's Crippler Crossface versus The Undertaker's Last Ride. And dude, honestly, I think at this point, like, toss a coin. Seriously. It looks like The Undertaker's Tombstone didn't make it into this tournament. Otherwise, I think it could be in here. So I think I am going to take the Last Ride. In some cases, I prefer the Last Ride over the Tombstone, if I'm being honest. So Last Ride it is. And now we are on to the final 4, the Elite 4 of WWE finishers. But before we find out who's going into the final, let me tell you how to enter for the $50 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is like the video and drop a comment that says the word WWE somewhere in there. Get creative with it. Leave a sentence. I don't care. It just has to say the word WWE. That way I can identify that you made it this far into the video versus those that didn't. Again, you have to leave a comment that says the word WWE and you have to like the video. That's it. That's all. Let's go here. All right. Next, we have the Big Show's Chokeslam versus the RKO. And I think that's it for the Big Show, man. That's it, dude. The Chokeslam's iconic, but the RKO is just too damn good. The RKO is moving on here. And in the other semifinal, we have the Last Ride versus Goldberg Spear. And again, man, like I don't know if I'm being biased because of the GIF that this tournament chose, because Dolph Ziggler is just selling that spear like there's no tomorrow. but the last ride really is just such a good finisher as well. But Goldberg just had another level of intensity when it came to the spear that just cannot be matched by the likes of Roman, Edge, not even Braun Breaker. I'm taking Goldberg's spear to make the shocking trip to the final to face the RKO. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final round. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in the final. What is the greatest WWE finisher, at least according to whatever is in this tournament bracket? We have Randy Orton's RKO versus Goldberg's spear. And honestly, man, like, you can't go wrong with either of these. Like, both of these are just absolutely iconic, devastating finishers. They're both awesome. They can both come out of nowhere. They've both won so many matches for the other guys. But, you know, I think one of the reasons the spear is going to lose for me is because there is an argument to be made that it's really the transition into the jackhammer. Although he's won many matches with just the spear. But that RKO, dude, that RKO just cannot be beaten. The RKO is undoubtedly the greatest finisher in WWE history. That's all she wrote, folks. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments. But that's it. Get out of here.